With the civil war in Syria and other regional instability in the Middle East, millions of people have had to flee their homes as refugees. There has been a lot of media dialogue about the refugee crisis, particularly focused on where the refugees go. I wanted to have a better sense of the scale of today's crisis. Primarily, how does the number of worldwide refugees today compare with the number in recent years? And what are the historic trends that led to this moment? I wanted to learn these things myself and also create a tool that others could use to do the same. I relied on data collected annually by the World Bank via the UN Refugee Agency, or UNHCR. The indicators that I used were refugee population by country or territory of asylum and refugee population by country or territory of origin. The World Bank's definition of a refugee is essentially someone who meets the international standards of refugees and has filed for and been granted asylum or temporary protection. The indicators essentially serve as a snapshot of the worldwide refugee population broken down by country of asylum, which is where the asylum claim has been granted, and country of origin, which is the claimant's country of citizenship. I also use a total population estimator, which is a mid-year population estimate of all residents provided by the World Bank. I had hoped to look at a long period of time, but unfortunately the World Bank's data is pretty sparse prior to the 1990s, so I settled for the past 20 years between 1995 and 2014. Using Python, I downloaded the data from the World Bank Pandas API and used MySQL to query and store the data. Then I created an R-Shiny application to showcase the data in graphs and tables. Now I'll go through the application, and if you'd like to follow along, here is the link to the published site. The application starts in 1995. The first thing you'll see is the total number of refugees counted worldwide and the total refugee population in the United States. On the left, you'll see the refugee population snapshot by country of origin with the top 10 highest countries displayed. On the right is the same, but for country of asylum. The graphs are in thousands, so the upper threshold that says 4,000 represents 4 million. Every year, there are some countries who fail to provide data. They are mostly small nations, but you can see the list here. Let's hit play and see how the trends have changed over the past 20 years. In the mid-1990s, there are a lot of refugees from Afghanistan and many who have been granted asylum in Iraq. By 1998, the worldwide level of refugees is declining, with no single country dominating the chart. This all changes in 2001, when the number of refugees from Afghanistan shoots up to 3.8 million. In the following year, this falls to about 2.5 million, but remains between 2 and 3 million even until the end of the data in 2014. In 2006, we also start to see a growing population of refugees leaving Iraq. You'll notice that Syria did not have many refugees leaving, but was actually one of the top destinations for refugees, granting asylum to a population of around 1.5 million refugees. This starts to change in 2012 when the population of refugees leaving Syria grows to 729,000, then to 2.4 million in 2013, finally to 3.8 million in 2014. Farther down, you can see the data in terms of proportionality to total population. I won't go through all 20 years again, but will point out that in 2014, 17% of Syria's population was accounted for by refugees who left. Further down, you'll see some static charts showing all-time highs in terms of refugee populations. Syria's 2014 refugee population represents the highest such figure in the past 20 years. On the other hand, Jordan is consistently home to one of the largest refugee populations. The final graph shows the annual refugee population snapshot in the United States. Generally, it has gone way down. Research revealed that the spike in 2006 that we see here was actually due to a change in the definition of refugees rather than an actual increase. In 2006, the UNHCR updated its definition of refugees to include resettled populations, but it reverted back to its original definition in 2007. In 2014, the refugee population started to grow after hitting its lowest point in 2012. However, it is still much lower than in previous years. The overall conclusion I took from this is that yes, we are in a unique historical moment in terms of the sheer volume of displaced individuals. If the trends in Syria mirror the trends that happened in Afghanistan after 2001, we should expect the high volume of refugees to continue for years, if not decades. To conclude, I learned a lot in this project, not only about refugee migration trends, but also about Python and R-Shiny. I hope you learned something too, and would encourage you to look through the data on your own to see what conclusions you can draw.